good, this stuff.
Old speckled hen.
It's cheap as shit at Lidl.
Is this what mid-length drinkers, riders drink?
You know it.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah, that's such a good advert for how cool we are.
So the BP range.
Yes.
We've got there. And so this is, I guess, leading on from the timepiece, which was your first mid-length. But this is kind of your range as a shaper. And we'll obviously go into them in more depth. But you've got the original BP Mini mid-length. You've then got the BP Pro, which is a sort of step up daily driver kind of mini mid. And then you've got the short stack, which is your sort of, again, mini mid daily driver, but short performance board. And before we kind of get into the distinct models, it'd just be really good to know, because this is perhaps the first range which you were designing specifically for yourself. So there was a shift in design philosophy. You weren't designing for other people. Just to very quickly recap on the timepiece, you had surfed a mid-length after injuring your knee back in sort of 2009, 2010. This evolved into an appreciation for what a longer board can do in terms of getting your fitness back, getting your skills back. You created the timepiece, which is one of my favorite boards in your range, and that was an absolute hit. That was around 2012, 2013, before timepieces, before mid-lengths were even a thing. Very quickly, because the BP Mini was your second mid-length. Before the timepiece, were you only surfing shortboards predominantly? Like, kind of, was it part of that, you and your surf rat pack, sort of like, we all surf shortboards? Like, you hadn't really thought about mid-lengths before then?
Yeah, all my friends are good surfers.
Yeah.
Like,
really
pro-level
yeah, really
UK surfers. So I'd go on a trip with them, and I am faced with very good waves and lots of people riding shortboards, and it felt like the first board I even got asked to shape, crazily, was a high performance shortboard.
Yeah.
That's like the first board I ever sold was a performance shortboard.
Do you remember it doing 6'2"?
Yeah, because shout out Keith, a very, very good friend and a good customer over the years, gave me back the board.
Have you got your first board?
I've got the first board I ever sold, not the first board I ever made. Yeah. So anyway, it was shortboards. Yeah, so shortboards was the way I was going. So I didn't like just jump on tiny little toothpicks. I was surfing, slightly bigger, full of shortboards. But I'm always trying to play around with it. What was I doing? Wider noses. Always something to try and alleviate the fact that I wasn't very good. And what I would do is tend to go too big, too chunky, kind of gain some confidence on it, go smaller, and just lose my confidence as I slowly went back smaller and didn't really get any better. So it was the injury that led to the mid-length
revolution.
Yeah, the spark of it. Like, ooh, these are fun for me.
And I guess when you surfed that first mid-length and created the timepiece, you started to realise that you were surfing in a way that you were enjoying, you were getting loads of waves, you were feeling like you were improving as a surfer, basically. And so there was definitely something in that in terms of where you were at. Yeah,
my headspace was that it was taking the novelty out of having a bigger board. Like, so I would go and surf other boards. It wasn't like I didn't surf, oh, it's tiny, let's take in longboard. Oh, my dad's got a old magic carpet, you should be able to take that in. Whatever it is. But it was that novel, kind of surf. And then getting the injury, realised I could sort of manoeuvre him about a bit, and then building from that to turn that into performance. And the timepiece was, coming out of the closet a bit and just being like, hey,
the nervous moment, the big reveal.
Yeah, it's just like, I am not very good at surfing. I surf mid-lengths. It makes me feel better about myself. Yeah. And I think it improved my surfing. Then what happens is I don't know if it's a competitive nature necessarily, but the nature to want to progress. So I start shaping, I want to get better at shaping. You know, you start playing a computer game, you want to get better at that computer game. I start surfing, I'm just going to be happy because I finally found a mid-length. No, I want to get better at surfing. So in my mind, I'm like, just like all my other friends and team riders and customers alike, they don't get a board that's like, oh, can you make me get slightly worse at surfing but catch more waves? No, every single board is like about progression. And that was the same for me. So timepiece was it. And loads of boards in between. It wasn't just like timepiece, BP.
Yeah.
Like so many boards in between. But I would say that there was maybe like dead spots. There were times in surfing for me where it's my job, I'm limited at it. My life led me to be limited in the quality of waves I could go and get. You know, like when you're younger, you're just going on trips and you're like, it's low tide at this beach, I'm going to be there. You know, kids and careers, and so they get in the way of being at the exact time at the right place. You start to kind of lose that. I don't want to say drive, it's never lost, but you do
the rhythm of it.
Yeah. So it kind of gets in the way. Life gets in the way, god damn it, of my professional surfing career, and lost a bit of froth. And something that I realized, and this is true of everyone like listening to this can probably resonate. In fact, I had a situation at the factory today. I'll explain. A very good surfer came to the factory today, and he was a bit like, I just need some excitement in my surfing. None of the boards are doing it for me. And I gave him a board to try, and he's ordered a board.
Which board?
I gave him one of Logan Nicholls' old shortboards. He's a really good. His name's Sol Hawkins. He's one of the top.
So like a Rockstar or a Shank, one of those, or a Fresh
Blade. He had like a Fresh Blade variation, but he just needed something to make it surfing exciting, trying a different board. And that resonates with people. If you don't have that, if you can have a new board, but if it doesn't excite you, it will wane very, very quickly that, oh, my surfing's still not excitable. So a board can do that in the right setting. So trying loads of different boards, trying the timepiece. Timepiece was always a go-to for me, and then the Doofer was always a go-to to me. They're like my safe, homely sort of boards. Like I'd still always surf them now, and variations of them. But wanting to bridge the gap between, okay, timepiece is giving me a load of confidence, I'll jump on my Doofer, and then my confidence waning as a shortboarder in less than average waves, not being able to surf all the good places, not going to go to the trips. How do I keep the froth? How do I keep that excitement so that I don't play too much golf, or I don't go, I'm just going to have a pint at the beach bar and not go surfing, you know? Like, it doesn't look that good.
How does it become your priority again, basically?
Yeah, how does it just become that fun, amazing, like, think about what it is. You're like flying on water. It's like, you should never be able to get bored of that. So like, how can I reinvigorate that? And although the BP, I'll be honest, it's probably rubbish sales tactics, but I've got to be honest about the story. The BP was me messing about, trying to figure out how I could get my team interested in surfing a bigger board that could translate to a wider range of surfers, because my team was surfing shortboards, and the array of public would be more up for bigger size boards. So at the time I was sending lots of chili beans and timepieces and, you know, bigger rail line
got your volume
boards.
Shortboards, basically.
Yeah. And I'm like, how can I get these guys excited in longer rail lines? So I started making the BP, started designing it.
So when you say your team riding, is that just them casually riding, basically? Obviously, there's not like a mid-length sort of comp in that respect. So it's kind of creating something where they actually go, that's what I'm going to grab today and go surf, basically. Yeah,
like, I mean, you try and get a good surfer on a board that they don't like. No, bad comment. You try and get a good surfer on a board they're not interested in. It's like they're doing you a job by surfing it. Yeah, and you see it. I won't name any, but you see it.
Are you a board pusher? Have you had to force boards on people?
I don't do it, but I've been in the position, and I see surfers do it. I see surfers push boards for a brand like, you know, global brands.
You can
whatever.
see it in their eyes.
Mate,
mate.
I can. I'm like, yeah, you surf that all the time. Yeah. They
Yeah.
haven't just said, please do this.
When you're watching videos of like pro surfers sponsored by the guys talking, can you get a feel whether it's legit or not legit in terms of like whether it's actually a board they're frothed about or whether it's just like it's going through the motions?
100% you can tell. Equally, you can also tell when the surfer gets surprised or they get into trying something.
As in they try something and they're like, that was way better than I was expecting.
Yeah, just like, oh, how good would it be if I did this turn on that board? Oh, I did it. You know, you can see that. You can still do. But I always think that, like, if you watch surfers who really, really surf the board, it really translates.
So in a way, like, kind of what you're touching upon there is mid-lengths was the perfect opportunity because I reckon like that sense of surprise that a board's much better than what you thought it was going to be is when you exceed expectations, that's when the froth comes back, isn't it? It's like, oh, wow, that was better or it was different from what I was...
Well, so it's funny because the BP Mini was like, oh, I'm trying to trick people into liking mid-length so I can sell more boards, yeah?
Yeah.
Effectively. Of course, there's something in the back of my mind that thinks I can surf this board, of course.
Yeah.
But at that time, I've surfed the timepiece. I love the timepiece. A lot of the team love the timepiece as well when it's small and clean, and you know, board. I could get them to jump on it. But I couldn't push it as like a progression board for someone who was maybe surfing the Chili Bean and wanted to get off the Chili Bean or something like that. So I knew in my head that I could surf the BP Mini, but I didn't ever think for one moment that I could be like a bit of a poster boy for a surfboard. And the team surfed the board, right? And I got them to surf
We've got another Harty claim coming up.
Not a crazy one. No, not a crazy one, because it was like, you know, I'm weirdly, although I do this stuff and like I have to talk, I am pretty reclusive. I'm pretty, like I'm a bit of a loner, really. I mean, I've got loads of friends, but I don't like outwardly go and put myself out there in any sort of situation. I enjoy surfing because I enjoy it, and if I get to do it with people, great. But you know, going off track, the BP Mini, the team had it. I made one, right? This never normally happens, by the way. It sometimes happens if you're trying to push a narrative, and I can't say that I've ever done that on models, but I made one BP Mini. One of the team riders surfed it. Then one of the other guys tried it and borrowed it. And I didn't think anything of it. I borrowed it for a trip. Yeah, cool. Go for it. Try and get me some footage.
What dims was it?
The 6'8", 44.9 litre board that I surfed today in the BP. Then another team rider surfed it. And he's like, oh my God, I need this board. Like, I am surfing this board so much. It makes so much fun of our waves. I'm like, no way. Can we get some footage of it? So I did the video with Ollie Adams, and he rips on it, and he's very smooth on it, and he's a really, really good surfer, like fundamentally, like rail to rail, and got a good backhand. And he was really putting it through his paces, and he was constantly telling me how good this board was. He ordered one for himself. Then he ordered one for his missus. Then the first guy who borrowed it kept on surfing this BP Mini. And then I'm like, right, I need to have a go on this board. I need to have a proper session on this board. Like, they're all...
Wait, so you hadn't really surfed it?
Yeah, I'd surfed it loads by then. But I mean, like...
were you not aware of what you were creating at the time? Like, until... did it almost increase off froth when you saw it through other people's eyes?
It's like, you don't see the opportunity, you don't see the opportunity, you don't see the opportunity. Yeah. Then I go, okay, everyone's liking it, cheat code. It's not like I'm going to go and... I then took it. I was like, I'm having this board.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn it. You know? I'm going to see what this is. And it was, mate, I'd be getting up for Dawnies before school runs. And I'd be going out when it's shit, just telling myself it's good. Like, there's a couple, you know, it was the old school kid surfer.
Yeah.
This board was making me do it. And then I kind of like, I'd got that to that point in a few months, and then it was like the start of lockdowns with COVID, and me and Ollie did another video.
Wait, this is 2020. So this is now 8 years sort of after you've launched the timepiece, like kind of. So there's quite a gap between timepiece towards.
Yeah, and I must have made the first BP in like 19. Yeah, I mean, you're talking, mate. I started golf.
Yeah. You've been a semi-pro golfer in that time.
So like, I did. And it wasn't like I stopped surfing. I never stopped surfing, but I'm like the vibe. Do
you think your taking up golf was a reflection of how much you just not fallen out of love with, but like had lost that froth, like kind of?
I don't know, because potentially, but also, I mean, coming to the end of my like fighting career of being able to like be good at any fighting, and because I was getting fat and not being able to train as hard. I never really felt competitive with surfing, is the honest truth. I've never really felt of it. It feels like an activity to me rather than a sport.
I don't want to
passion.
I
don't want to take away from people who treat it as a sport, but to me, I don't care if someone's judging me. It's not even like I want your judgment. It's not. It seems ridiculous. I wouldn't be like, oh, if Picasso had a coach, would he be a better painter? I don't know. I
was trying to describe this to somebody the other day, that like how, as an activity, like, so it's almost like an art where you could be just as famous as just as successful without having to compete in the sporting aspect of it, and just having the lifestyle, having the style, like kind of like
aspirational.
Yeah,
because anyone who's touched it knows how good it feels. And anyone who hasn't touched it really wants to.
Yeah. They can get a whiff of it.
Yeah. And so it's a hugely aspirational. So it's such an amazing thing to do. So
2020, Ollie.
So we do another video of Ollie surfing it. And then I'm surfing in those sessions as well.
Is this when you become the pinup boy?
No, because funnily enough, the camera battery run out.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And I have this really good surf. We surf this back. Because remember, like lockdown, they're like, you shouldn't surf. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
We were like, we're going surfing.
Empty line. I was just like, screw you.
Cool. Yeah, so we're going to
catch it out back.
Yeah, we're going surfing. So I'll tell you a funny story in a minute about my local wave actually after this. So the camera runs out. The camera guy's like, I was like, just come for a surf. Right? We surf this bank. Really, really good left-hander at Penale. And I didn't air.
On the mid-level?
On a BP. I've never done one since.
Before? Was that your first? Is that your one and only?
First and only. Like, I maybe
on a 6'8".
I maybe have tried a few. And I even said to like, Ollie, did I do it air? And he's like, what, dude? Like,
to cut 2 inches.
Technically, but like, I'm like, well, I've done it air.
You've done it.
You know, I left the water, I landed back on the board, and I was like, this board. And then like, if I'm feeling like that, I want more people to feel like that. So then it was like, this is my flipping shortboard. And I swear to God, I did not get bored of that board for 3 years. Like, I really didn't. After about 3 years, probably maybe a bit less, I started going, how can I make it more performance-y?
All right. Obviously, we're moving on. So very quickly...
We are. I'll tell you my other funny story about down there.
Go for it.
Just to prove the froth of this board.
Yeah.
So I live at Porth Beach, and there's a really fun wave around the corner called, I'm not going to name it actually. It's not a secret spot, but it's just a good left-hander within walking distance to my house. And I'd say it's probably a mile between my house and the shoreline, by at low tide by the time you get there. So anyway, I'm going for a surf. It's locked down. No one's in the water. I go on a longboard and I'm like, oh, this is fun. And it was like this big and like really well lined up. And I'm like, oh, I wish I was on the BP. And I got out, I ran all the way home, got my BP and ran.
So it's like a 2 mile round run. What did you take down there?
I took a single fin longboard.
I mean,
I like longboards, but I like them in the most marginal of surfs. Like any other waves other than tiny.
You want to go for something a bit more.
Yeah. Me personally, I think longboarding is hard for not much reward to be good at it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But that's probably my ignorance to it. But yeah, I don't want to dance up and down the board. I want to blooming,
So what I would say, so like,
yes.
What is it then about the BP Mini? If we just talk about the design of it, like starting with the outline, kind of like.
So, design of the BP Mini.
Absolutely.
So, after having sort of brief successes with this sort of notion, albeit a little bit ignorantly found, I wanted a board for shortboarders that surfed off the tail.
Yeah.
Loads of mid-lengths, flatter rockers, more neutral rockers, meaning they start in the middle and they just increase slowly as they get out to the tail and nose, which means you tend to find that there's not much pivot in them, and you tend to find that when you stand up, in order for them to go straight, you kind of stand more neutral into the board, so your back foot is a little bit less engaged with the fin, so in order to move that tail, you step back into the fins and pivot.
You actually see it in the really good like mid-length surfers. They almost make this lunge backwards. They almost like in a fencing position to get that weight over to kind of like bring it round.
Exactly. So I wanted a board that you pop up and your back foot goes on the tail. So first thing I couldn't do was go crazy on length. But the next thing I could do is just take DNA, shortboard DNA.
Yeah.
So I elongated rockers off a shortboard tail without trying to increase the curve of the tail too much.
When you say the curve, do you mean the outline or the rocker curve?
The rocker curve, yeah. You know, a lot of people talk about outlines and so every part of a board is connected, therefore important. But like outline changes here and there are like, you know, like rocker, concave, rails and fins are like the engine and the suspension. And then like everything else is kind of like
they're the priority, like kind of get those right, and then it's tweaking.
And then there's like the tires and the steering wheel. It's kind of important, but it doesn't change what the car is.
But I guess from an outline point of view, it's the thing that sort of most people, unless you've got like a crazy glass job, it's the thing that most people will dial into because it's the most aesthetically obvious in that respect. Yeah. So
I would say that I love the look of the BP, but I think that it's probably not like the most aesthetically pleasing outline, but it makes sense. There's function behind it because it's bullet templated. So rocker, shortboard. Outline, believe it or not, shortboard, as in parallel in the middle, pulled into the tail, draw out to the nose. But then that's where my mid-length brain was coming in. Just keep the parallelity going. Take the foil of the shortboard, so you're losing foam the further up the board you go, and let the parallelity give you the stability.
Yeah.
So,
which is why they've got a slightly broader, rounded nose compared to what you'd normally associate with a performance shortboard.
Yeah, or a performance mid-length.
Yeah,
even.
true.
You know, they are.
Yeah, even the mid-length performance go all pointy, don't they?
And they are as well. They're wide, and the reason why they're wide is because I need turning circumference to create that pivot, those pivots. So, like, say a normal mid-length, whatever a normal mid-length is,
21 inches.
Well, even less probably.
Yeah.
It's probably under 21. It's between 20 and 21 somewhere. This thing's like over 21 and a half. So like I'm creating curve. Anyway, that was a design concept is make it feel shortboardy. And then, you know, the worry was it's going to feel like a shit shortboard. And I guess in the weirdest way it kind of does.
Yeah.
But
if you're trying to surf it like a shortboard, like
yeah, well, what the team was saying is that they're trying to surf it like a shortboard and it surfs like a shortboard. And they're kind of like, they're thinking, well, why am I surfing a shortboard when the waves are frustrating? So for them, it's a wave thing. You know, they're going to surf the BP Mini, or they enjoyed the BP Mini. One, trying to work out how this big board moves so well.
Yeah.
So they would surf it in good waves. But then two, just try and make the most out of a shit wave. It doesn't have to be size related as well. When you've got extra rail length, it could be tiny shit waves or massive shit waves. You've got enough rail length that's going to get you through, and you've got enough curve and poise on rail and looseness. Because you see what I've done with the concave, haven't you? With like it's quite a barreled sort of double. It's kind of a loosener
at the back.
Yeah. So like you need to do that. Obviously, you want. Funnily enough, when you make a short little board, you want as much of that board engaged as possible in the water to gain control. When you get extra rail length, you want as least percentage of that board touching the water as possible to get it as maneuverable as possible. So this is kind of like a cross idea of concepts in terms of where your feet are standing. So there was some like points where I'm like, And I feel like I tried the extremities of everything all in one board, and I never changed it.
Extremity of width, extremity of rocker, extremity of concave.
Exactly. Like, imagine me going, that's so much wider than a mid-length that I'm trying to be more performance than.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Because then, like, it has got a deep concave. It has got a really wide hip, like you just said, in that respect.
And then, like, I'm going to put shortboard foils on it. That's going to look so rough. Let's just see. And then, like, can you put that much rocker in a rail length that long? As in, like, height of rocker?
Yeah.
Because the curve is really well balanced, but it's in terms of, like, actual draw either side, it's quite high rockers. Can I? That's weird. No one ever done that. I'm just going to do it. Right. And I did it all, and then everyone surfed it. Everyone liked it. And I swear down, it was like the first board is what the BP.
Yeah.
It was never like, we should try this, we should do this. Is it quad? Is it thruster? It was like, bang, this is it. So, the shortboard mid-length was born, and then my connection, brilliant. A good surfer can surf it. Cool. Maybe we'll sell some boards. Maybe more people resonate with it. But a shit surfer can feel like a better surfer. In my mind, that's like, no, it still wasn't then, actually. I was just thinking like, oh, that's a more relatable story. It is. But that wasn't still my mindset then. It was still me just going, behind closed doors, like, oh, this is good for me. This is a little cheat code for me to get better at surfing. Maybe I'll get better at surfing on this, and then I can, sell some shortboards, do some more shortboarding. That's still the mindset at that time, looking back at it. But 3 years of utter bliss on that board. And
what's the word when you have like a romance with a board? Is there say like two guys meet, they get really well, you call it a bromance? Like, sort of, what would you call, like, when you meet a board and, like you said, you have this like 2 years of a loving with it, like, kind of?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even
a board mance.
I can't eat like a
suggestions. We need to create a word which like describes the
love affair you can have with a board.
Exactly,
because it's like you almost don't give it the credit it deserves, because it's straight to, I think it's like the brush of an artist to the canvas. You go, wow, that artist is clever. Wow, that painting is amazing. And then the brush just gets put aside. It's like the board is the connector.
Absolutely.
And like, it can actually help your art.
I was having a conversation with somebody the other day who has horses, like rides horses, and she was talking about like this relationship, this investment, this kind of like, and they're going like, that's like me and my board. It's like,
but I don't have to feed them.
Literally, it's much cheaper. Like to have to get up at 8 a.m, but it's a very similar level of intimacy. Like, kind of when you get.
But my board's never shat on the floor in the barn that's really expensive to hold it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, they're way better than horses, mate.
Oof. We're following.
I mean, we won't even get into it. I mean, I like surfboards.
Exactly.
The thing, the concept of the BP Mini was like, basically just letting me have that love affair, and I loved that good surf. That was like if they like it, I like it. Yeah, which I probably needed at the time, which I feel like I don't need now because I had it then. Once you've gone through that, it's like, okay, it's all good. And then
just very, very quickly, because I think it is an important transition in terms of like, when we speak about what your sort of design philosophy, what you try and do with surfboards now, you would say it's about legitimacy. Like, it's about function first, like, kind of don't worry about anything else, like get it so that it's working for how you want to surf. And it sounds like that with the BP Mini and this sort of like that you were doing that, and then you got the validation that this was working by these guys, that actually this was the birth of that kind of that next almost chapter of like your confidence and how you're like going to go, I'm going to design exactly how I want to design.
Definitely. When I look back at my like career as a shaper, sounds so weird, but like my working life as a shaper, there's pivotal boards in there. Like, there definitely is. And I could, that's a whole nother chat, but this one was the one where I really, really, when I'm talking about like getting to know design, I mean like intrinsically, like learning a language and becoming fluent, and then it being your language.
Yeah.
It's different think like it really started becoming my language after this board.
Yeah.
There was like optimism and like sort of gratitude, and there was also like more freedom to be like, hey, you've collected enough data now, and you're seeing that you're right. It's not just, you know, it's not just, can I make it look like this? Can I make it look like that? What am I, you know, I'm really starting to build my own sort of, you know, the foundations. It goes up and up and up. And it was that level where I went, I can be me. I can just be what I am as a shaper. Now I feel like I got to the level where I'm like, I'm not trying to be another shaper. I'm Luke Hart. This is how I understand boards. And then, you know, subsequently because of that, I think all the boards got better. The other thing that got better was my like connection to something that I wasn't necessarily attached to as well. So like making a board for a 12-year-old who's really, really, really good. Like it's so far away from me. And then suddenly I now see the value in that.
Is that because you were learning how to listen to yourself better, and therefore you're able to listen to other people and what they were wanting to do better?
I just started to really, really trust putting design together. You know, there was things that I'd stumbled on early in my career, and I think every shaper would tell you that.
Yeah.
They stumble on things, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to roll with it. And that creates a bit of a theme for a while. But this was a point of like really like putting some stuff together that I was hoping would work. And then when it worked, I'm like, yay, I'm right. And like then build from that, you know? And then I started realizing that every single board is like a challenge. So yeah, functionality is always like, that's always what drives me. It's not being like, hey man, I want you to have this really incredible experience. I absolutely want you to have that experience, but I'm going to design the board so there's loads of stuff that makes sense together so that it answers the equation that you've given me. It's a bit more. So so it was. I think it was like, you know, the start of being at the height, you know, passing the tests of becoming a shaper. This was like me really defining it and pushing on. So after that 3-year love affair of literally not touching it, and by the way, like the board, that one board got. It got borrowed out so much. I used to really miss it.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, the first one that I ever had, someone came in the factory and there was a language barrier between us, and I was showing him my board, and he just moved into the country and didn't really have much money. And I sold it to him. I got it. Oh. Because he thought I was selling it, and I'm like, cool. Just take it. And I made myself known straight away. But like, I remember not being with it, and like, I remember how annoying it was when people borrowed it off me, and I was like, I haven't even got one. And I made one straight away. And I don't often make myself boards like that. I'm more of
you use whatever's going around, floating
kind
around.
of, yeah. It's quite special when I make my own board. But there was also, at that time, I was thinking like, how do I make it more performance-y? And I kept on, I would go shorter. And I've told you, I've got a 6.4 version of it in the garage. I just won't even sell because it's that shit. And
this is something really interests me, this idea that like, because one of the questions I see a lot we get asked for is, oh, just take that board, make it shorter or smaller. And like kind of proportions are such a relative thing, like kind of suddenly the rail length stops working or this, that and the other. And that, from my understanding, that was your experience of the BP Mid, that as you try to get it like BP Mini, as you try to get it like smaller and more performance-y, it stopped working basically.
Yeah, like you can go up quite a bit with it and get the same feelings, but it just becomes a bit rollier.
Yeah.
It's like obvious what it does actually. There's no like massive surprises. Like, oh my God, it's a completely different board. It's not. It's like it just gets bigger and it gets rollier and cruisier. When you go smaller, you can be like a bit smaller, and then you can trick yourself on one surf and go, oh, that's a bit better. But then you keep going and you're like, oh, actually, I'm not sure if it is a bit better, because what am I really gaining from going shorter here? If you go shorter again, you start really seeing what the ifs and buts were of going a little bit shorter. And it's like, they kind of turn into like shit grovelers. When I say shit grovelers, kind of good grovelers, but like they're in a box now. It's small waves. And as soon as you take that smaller version of that board into...
That's interesting. It lost the kind of that daily driver sort of versatility as a result of that.
So I went back and I did the things that I did to the BP Mini and accentuated them further. So I pulled the nose in more, I pulled the tail in more, I added the rocker, I took away foil, I thinned the deck out, I refined it. I kept the kind of integrity of the design, bullet shape, shortboard-esque. I mean, I'm turning it closer to a shortboard. Anyway, I came up with a 6.4 BP Pro for me.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm like, yay, this is my board and I'm loving it. And I did get better at surfing. And I think my friends would all say that as well. And I think that's why it started selling locally more, is because I was getting better at surfing, also getting in the water more as well. So maybe I can't give full credit to the board. Maybe it was just a bit, you know, getting back into the water more.
Well, as soon as you get froth, as soon as you start doing more, you start getting better. It's simple as that. Your fitness improves.
And then the BP Pro was 6.4. So I ride the 6.8 BP Mini, and it's the best one for me. 85 kg.
We were gonna go there again.
We all talk about this, yeah. You know, my absolute fittest I'm 80, and my absolute worst I'm 90. So I'm pretty good at the moment. 84 at the moment ish. And 6.8, 44.9 liters. The new BP Mini that's coming out this year is 43.8 in the 6.8. Which sounds like a dramatic change, but it's not really over the course of the board, but it's lost a bit of foams. But the one I ride, 44.9, and I put like a little rounder tail on it as well.
Yeah.
And then the BP Pro was a big jump. It was 6.4 rail length. I 8 or 9 litres off of it.
It's about 36.5, isn't it?
36.5 litres. A lot narrower. And that became my good wave shortboard.
Yeah.
Like I use it as like, I wouldn't say a step up, but like the BP Mini, I don't need to look at the surf. I'm always gonna have fun on it. And I might be a bit gutted that I haven't got my BP Pro if it's really pumping.
Yeah.
But the BP Pro, I have had stand-up barrels on it. I have surfed it in really small waves. Same thing, but the rocker doesn't cope as much in the flatter waves.
Yeah.
You lose a little bit of drive.
And to give, like, I guess, the rocker on it. So I've been surfing that 6.4, and I compared it to my step up, like, and it's got that same level of rocker. It's the most rockered board I have, pretty much equal to like in my quiver or what I'm surfing at the moment.
Yeah.
But it doesn't paddle like it's got that much rocker. Like kind of it.
No, I've similar feels. So when people say, oh, like, you know, does your 6.8 paddle better? Like, well, yeah, but if they're both in the section of this is like, I'm being legit, this isn't a sales pitch.
No.
They're both in that still easy level.
Yeah.
So although, yes, the 6.8 paddle's better, it's not a notable enough difference to say that the BP at 6.4 is a bad paddler. And it's easier to duck dive. So you kind of lose less energy getting out through the wave. So it really balances that out, as it's not much difference, which was a bit of not an eye-opener, but it was like a decent revelation. Was like, oh, okay, cool. So when I'm changing boards, it's like more design. It's like I want the cruise of that in flatter waves. So this is my ripping board. And
so very quickly, what's the difference? So like you said, pulled in nose, pulled in tail, the bottom contours are roughly the same.
I'm accentuating turning radiuses.
Yeah.
And then making it more sensitive.
So has it got more single concave in that one?
No, not in terms of. So it's narrower.
Yeah.
With the same concave, which
okay, so it's actually
makes
steeper,
it more.
steeper. Yeah.
But like the design elements were kind of kept as they were, and then we see what came out. Do you know what that was only two? That was literally only 2 boards as well. That's how I knew this was such a good setup, because like first one kind of landed on it, and then everything else is easy. Then this was like 2 muck around boards, and I was like on it straight away. Done. Yeah, for sure. And then I was.
Is it proportional? So when you say you pulled in the nose and the tail, it's obviously a narrower board. So is the curve similar to the BP, or is there a little bit more parallelity? Like, because the BP does have that quite a bit of hip on it, doesn't it? The BP Mini has hip on it. The BP Pro is a little bit more parallel in that respect, or is it got roughly the same?
It has. It's hard to explain. So because I'm pinching the top and the bottom in more, that's how I'm generating the curve of having less width. But the parallelity, in the middle it's still relatively high, and I think that's why it paddles so well. It's because you've probably got the rail length in a BP Mini of maybe a 6.5 or a 6.6, but it's a 6.4.
Yeah.
So you're getting away with little, but you're shortening everything.
Yeah.
And this is what, like, this is how I kind of come up with the concept of the short stack, which we'll talk about in a bit. Is that what you've basically just said? Is just like keeping that drive. That's why this kind of also, along with that, it goes in, and I don't really have to look at the waves in this one. I lose a bit of the. I start having to be a bit better at surfing in worse waves on the BP Pro, because I don't have to on that. I'm just cruising, and I feel like when I've got this, I'm gonna like surf well. Such a like cocky sort of feeling. And it doesn't always happen, but that's my like my general like, oh yeah, come on then, I'm gonna do a big car, you know. But,
so I haven't surfed the Mini or the short stack, but I've surfed actually the Pro a bit now. I'd be interested to hear your interpretation of my experience of it. So like, I'm normally twin fin guy. Love the kind of like the natural speed and glide you get with that, performance keels. I also like V, rail to rail transition. It's kind of got that feeling. I've surfed, this is obviously a thruster. I hadn't surfed a thruster for a long time, so it was interesting getting back on that. I use the H4s.
Bit of a cheat code on these.
The FCS on it. And I can remember my immediate first impression of surfing it was like, it's not the same level of natural gliding speed, but it's definitely got the most amount of natural speed and trim I've surfed on a thruster. Like kind of, I was on there, and if you don't want to work it and you just want to let its natural speed kind of carry you, and you want to keep it kind of relatively relaxed, it does that. And I was blown away because it's the thruster that's felt the closest to my kind of like twin fin experiences in that respect. And I guess, like you said, parallelity, the deep concave, you're getting plenty of air in there.
I think that would probably be the biggest factor.
Yeah. You just and because it's largely single concave all the way through with a bit of that barrel V at the back.
Because if you think what concave's doing is you're maintaining your curve on your rail, and then you're boring out the center of the board, which makes it straighter. So a down the line or more board engaged in the water, you're actually adding lift because there's not board engaged in the water because you've got concave. Yeah. Then when you're on rail, it's very clear that the rail is only touching the water of the concaves. So you get the board out of the water quick, so you then get more pivot and drive on rail. I think that's always quite surprising to someone like yourself who surfs like the twinnies and the longer rail lines and the V bottoms. The V bottoms are brilliant when you've got power behind you, but when you need to create some of that, you need that lift off singles. It's a UK
and that was the thing that the shock, like kind of, and I think this board should come with like a health warning, was because I started to appreciate that, like when I was transitioning for a rail, like I had to commit more. Like I was putting more energy into it, but if I did, the board would look after me. I remember I got this nice wave, and I started to get a hustle on, building speed. The lip came up, and I went into it, and the whole board came round in a way. And I was like, I landed it, and I was like, I haven't done a turn like that for a long time. And I was like, was that me or the board? And I couldn't quite work out what had happened. Like the board had almost, like I said, I just put it in the place, and it's like I said, it's got that rocker. It kind of just caught me and like put me through.
That's how they're set up. They're quite aggressive.
Yeah.
You know, they are surfy off the tail boards. So like, yeah, maybe it pulled it out of you. Maybe you just knew.
Well, this is it. So then I was like, I started getting more hustly on it, and I started looking for that. Next day, I can't move because I strained my groin back. Basically, I was out for like kind of, and I was like, I haven't strained anything like that for ever, kind of like this, that, and the other. And I swear it was because like the ball was egging me on, because the more I was putting into it, like the more it was just like it was. And what's the word you use? It's that sense of forgiveness, basically. Like it was everything I was trying on it was kind of coming off on it, basically, and I was pushing it.
That's why I love the video of Logan when he comes off frothing.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm so glad I kept the camera rolling. So I'd never normally just put a camera in someone's face. It felt quite weird, but he was just. I saw basically he had one wave, and I hadn't set the camera up, and like the curse, you always miss the best wave.
Yeah.
So he's took off and he's just gone boom, like that, and this spray just went, shoom, right into a car, into a bottom turn, snap, let the tail round, and then he stopped midway after those turns, and I saw him looking at me like he was doing this.
What just happened?
What's he doing? And then I really quickly got the camera and I got the end of the wave and we put it in the end.
Yeah.
And I knew then he was like, and every wave he took off on is in that video. He was in the sea for about half an hour max, and he came out and he said a line. He said,
because it makes surfing easy. It makes surfing easy, whereas those boards make surfing hard unless you're doing everything perfect, you know?
You have to surf perfect. And if you surf perfect, the board's brilliant. But on these things, you don't have to surf perfect.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, man. Because an unperfect surfer rarely gets that chance to feel perfect. But this board kind of...
It does
every now and again.
It's definitely not a beginner board though. Like it's not. I think it's if you're at that level where you're just making that like kind of wet, like where you've got, because it's quite narrow, like and it's got all that rocker on it, like.
Yeah.
But if it's at a level where it hits you so sweetly, and I guess there's no then upper limit on it. Like kind of like you could give this to sort of. Like say Logan Nicol, like the guys competing.
Well,
at
he used it on
level.
his rehab, which I thought was really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, he used a 6'8" on his rehab to sort of get him back into surfing. And I think watching him surf, he's come out of that injury really smooth, really powerful. I'm not giving the board credit, but if he'd have done it on a fish, you could imagine, can't you? Just like loads of release and like skatey sort of vibes. With this, that it's extra rail line before anything else. It's trying to get those in. So I think that, yes, it probably isn't a beginner board. You probably don't need it as a beginner. You might as well have something a bit flatter, a bit easier. But like as a
bottom end of intermediate, like it's such a pick me up. It's like, like, I love it.
I mean, I feel like I could put it under a lot of people's feet. I really find it hard not to put the board I'm riding under people's feet. But this one is like...
You just have to be prepared to get your weight over the back end, because it does make a big difference, like in terms of like
if you stand. Yeah, but I find personally that when I stand up, my foot goes there, which is quite a rare feeling for me. Off like my timepiece, it doesn't.
Yeah.
My timepiece, I'm up a bit.
You're not having to think too hard about it.
Nah.
But although
that was happy accident.
Yeah.
The fact that I like, because I put a tail pad on because I'm searching for my tail. That's so bad. I don't do it because I jam turns and like need it for the pocket. I like knowing where my foot is, and it's like a good reminder.
Blind stick, basically.
Yeah. So and this one here is like I do find that my foot is in the right place. It really has a nice big sweet spot, front and back foot actually.
And it's probably worth adding at this point that like, God, I've stared at so many surfboards over the years that you kind of becoming trained to looking for certain shapes, certain kind of aesthetics in a board. And I remember when I first sort of like gave your range attention, I kind of just sort of like dismissed these boards because they weren't triggering these classic senses of aesthetic beauty that I was kind of like looking for.
I get that. And you know what? I understand that.
Yeah.
Because that's the message I guess you have to get across. But it's a little bit like, these are kind of like me. Like I'm a surfer, but I mean, I've got Adidas sliders and I wear tracksuit bottoms.
Yeah.
And I've never, I've
You're
never
not an
really,
master.
I'm not a surfer, on paper or like aesthetically.
Yeah.
And these are kind of, these are maybe like, when you like get a car and you spend loads of money on like a BMW M5, but it's still a BMW 5 Series.
Yeah. As opposed to a sports car from
Roadster or something that it's that kind of thing. And people either like them or they don't like them and whatever, But
and the thing is like, so after surfing it and getting a kind of a sense of it, like it started to make a lot more sense. So first thing to note is like, if you're curious, we do the demo boards, get in contact with us, like kind of like...
I'm so buzzing on the demo range.
Cannot
wait.
Just come and try one of these.
Yeah.
Secondly, Simon Jones did that like the Clipte like movie with Torrin Martin, like kind of like, and the Clipte board that they've done there. Like, this sounds really geeky, but I got a screen grab of it and I put it over like kind of like I screen grab Jaws, and
that's so geeky.
It's so geeky. Yeah, but it's the BP Pro. It's there's a real similarity. They have like, it's got this kind of wing just in front, so but it's this kind of like, it's not pointy, it's got a rounded nose, so like massive parallelity, broad, much broader, like sort of squash tail as opposed to like the pit everyone's riding. And he rides, the only difference being that they ride it as a twin. I'm tempted to put like some Mahusive keels in it and see what it goes
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't like. I spoke to Malcolm Campbell about this. He's like, fin setups are fin setups, boards are boards. So it's like you can't. It's not like a board won't go if it's a single fin and a board. It's just
absolutely
it's a different board now.
Yeah.
So you go and hit that journey up. I mean, look how I found the timepiece as a twin. Darchie telling me to do it. It's not me. That wasn't like. Yeah, I can't really take any credit for the fact that the reason why everyone loves that board is because another shaper told me to do something different. So like fin setups, yeah, man, try it. Twin fins make loads of sense in the UK because you don't have to crank bottom turns. Our waves are quite pocketless, so maybe. I mean, I love it on the thruster, and the H4s to me feel like cheating.
Unbelievable, the H4s on that.
Yeah, because they're so thin and stiff. Yeah, I feel like
you don't say get any sense of drag.
No, it's like where are my fins? Whoa, there my fins are.
And I think I had some reactions in it, and it I was like, oh, I felt numb to it because it wasn't giving me that twin fin sort of glide and speed. But as soon as I had the H4s, and I was like, oh, this is the one. This is the money.
For me, when I changed the H4s, it was like a night and day thing. I've never actually, to be completely honest with you, I've never had that much a dramatic change from fins.
Yeah.
Like large, mediums, all of that sort of stuff. I can feel the difference. I did always prefer bigger fins. I always lean towards bigger fins. Fat guy. But like even just the feel and the drive. When I got the H4s, I was like, whoa. But instantly now, I'm like, they're so sort of dragless.
Yeah.
Why aren't they making them bigger? You could definitely get away with more. Like, why? I don't know why they aren't just getting an oversized set of H4s out there.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Why not? I mean,
putting it out in loads of.
I'm putting it out there. They're mid-length fins for thrusters. The other thing I was going to say about that Simon Jones's board.
Simon Jones, yeah.
I can see how shapers are going to end up getting to a bit more pivot in an outline of a longer rail line board. It's only a matter of time.
Well, I raise it because you've probably got one of the most aesthetically pleasing surfers or exciting surfers, like kind of like all renowned, with one of the like most creative sort of like board shapers, like got that whole esteem about it, like kind of admittedly they did it nice with that with like a kind of like a dual stringer, like
I mean aesthetically they're very on point with that.
They got it right aesthetically, but actually when you look at it, like sort of like what you did is long before that was so on the money. Like it's an interesting one. I feel like that's kind of at the beginning of its journey in terms of what it could be like like I said.
Yeah, they're going to be the BP range is going to be around a long
constantly
time.
evolving.
Yeah, and constantly evolving because it's part of me now as a surfer, and it keeps it gets me up in the mornings to do earlies and and then also I'm lucky enough that people message me when they have a good surf. So my mate Rory has just come round, and his son is a really, really good surfer. He's top 12-year-old in the country, Jensen Martin. And
I met him. Yes, sorry.
Such a good lad.
Nice.
And he's really helped my board design. So
in what way? Like
we're trying to get a little 12-year-old to surf like
Jensen's helped, not Rory. Yeah.
Loads. And he's we've done wonders. His boards are going so well, and he's really, really picked up because of it. And I can notice it when he's surfing with the other kids. So I'm really stoked on that. Anyway, his dad surfs a BP Pro.
Yeah.
He's just sent me some clips tonight. His missus was filming Jensen and filmed a couple of his. He's ripping. Nice. He doesn't want me to share them. I'm like,
that is a family effort, isn't it? When you've got like
missus filming,
absolutely.
Yeah, they're putting it in like and Jensen got out and she I thought that was really nice. So he didn't know, I don't think, but Jensen got out and she stayed filming to get a couple of Rory's waves, and he got some really good ones.
Wait, but he doesn't want you to show anybody.
Nah.
Put one at the
He's
end.
like us.
Just put one at the end of this.
Yeah, I will. Just wait to the end and you're going to see Rory shredded. Sorry, Rory.
Yeah, sorry, Rory.
And then, should we talk about the last one in the range?
Do it.
So, short stack.
Yeah.
Now...
And this is so fresh. This is literally off the press. It's not even on the website yet, is it?
No, although I have done a few customs because I sort of believe in it. I am now... I didn't think it would ever happen. But I'm surfing a 511. after all of that, like getting off shortboards, and I will say that it's so if this one is like my good wave, you know, almost step up, just like pumping it. This is almost like my fun day.
Yeah.
It's not. It has to be. There has to be some push behind the wave for me to get on this.
Yeah.
If there wasn't any push, I'll go on that, because although I can create speed quite easily on it, you know, again, it's like that. Me having to be better than I kind of necessarily want to be in order to get the most out of my surfing, which can lead to frustrations. I'd rather just go on the BP Mini. But this thing is a 511, and you can see the DNA run through the family. I think you can tell they're all related in that sense. And the only difference with this one is I've tried to keep I've tried to make it a real pocket monster. So off the tail surfing, rockers,
same as the BP Pro when I did the comparison of it.
Yeah, and over the balance is different, but the heights aren't crazily different. But it makes it a bit more curvy. Like there's a little bit less board engaged in the water if you're just stood there still. So more for turns, less for drive. But the forward foil is actually almost less progressive in these, because I've flattened it out through here. Because what I'm trying to do is create that kind of feel when I'm on my feet. So what I even did is, because I didn't want to add too much board to the water to slow it down, I've actually added, I don't even know what I'd call it, like a sort of quad concave.
It's not in the mold of your kind of like Tomo Revo quad concave.
No.
It's like it's gentler, nowhere near as tracky.
Yeah,
like kind of it's
I'm trying to maintain curve here without having all
yeah.
of this touch the water, basically.
Yeah.
And essentially I'm trying to keep lift on the rail. So I will give 2 shout outs to shapers that I've worked with who gave me the sort of ideas to start shuffling around with this in the shaping bay. Malcolm Campbell, Bonza setup, same theory. You cut board out that doesn't need to touch the water when you're on rail, and you've got more pivot and drive on rail. The rail cuts in the water with less resistance, so you can do a turn faster. So same concept as that. And obviously I'd been building Bonzas with Malcolm for a couple of months. So that while this was in my mind, I actually started these while Malcolm was here. And then Ryan Lovelace on the cheap, he has the single concave on the rail. Rail lift. It makes so much sense. Cutting water. So although I hadn't surfed the cheat, I absolutely loved the concept and understood what was going down. So I added that to the bottom shape, and it's basically so that going forward, I feel like I've got stability of the mid-length, and it really does give you stability. So for context, this is 5'11", 33.7 litres.
But which is the smallest of your entire range on that? So it's still it's almost like a mini mid, isn't it? Because I think at the moment we have it as 5'11" is the smallest, and then it's upward thereafter. Or are you planning on going smaller with it?
I think I could go smaller for a smaller person, because this is mid lengths are more like you fit on them. Do you find that? Like, I don't necessarily want to size it for your height and weight, but the more I strip off a board, the more I feel like I have to do that. So I think you could go smaller if someone was lighter, but you know, I'll get on to who's really liking this as well, and they're heavier than me, but they surf this one. So like, I don't know. That's not I will go smaller, but I'm not going to necessarily push the smaller size. If you need a smaller short stack, maybe look at some of our models, and then we'll talk about why you might need a smaller short stack. So it is mini mid. It's definitely mid-day DNA. It's BP DNA. It's BP DNA. BP. And it's a mid-length, or whatever you want to call it. Some people don't call them mid-lengths because you surf off the tail. I don't care, but BP DNA. And I'm trying to keep as much water, watch board engaged, so I've got stability, and then make it even more sensitive and whippy. And for me, it was just a bit trying to add skate, so I actually got a slightly wider tail
than the Pro.
Yeah, and really flat deck, and then it's kind of got a bit of a drop down rail as well, so I can pack some foam. But the foam wasn't for volume's sake necessarily, it was to keep the foil really flat for the stability, for that really stable platform. And it still ended up really low volume from 33.7. I'm like, geez, 44.9, 36.6, 33.7. That's kind of my range of boards. Whereas you see a lot of people and they're like, I rode 27.5, maybe 28. And it's like, gee, all right, cool. Well, I surf loads of different stuff. And this is like really reinvigorated me to be a bit more like dynamic.
Yeah.
And I have done some really nice turns on it. I have put together some like surprising surfs for me. I love the extra bit of energy I get from paddling out as well, because it's like shortboard vibes again now. So it's really, really easy to duck dive in the better waves.
Yeah.
You know, where you can just turn and go real quickly.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
lose that a bit on longer rail length. So having that shorter rail makes me feel it's, you know, you were saying you didn't know it was you on the board earlier. Kind of like that. I don't know. It's like, I'm a bit like more, whee, you know, trying to be more proactive and getting lots of different waves when I'm on this one. And then I took it out the wave pool, and the only place where I didn't like the BP Mini was at the wave pool. I just like
Shape of wave.
Yeah, just it's such a small little pocket, concentrated pocket, and I just couldn't surf the wave how I wanted to any time. It was either nursing a turn or not doing a turn. And then on the barrel, it was all right in the barrel, but all I could do is try and just set up for it, and you can do that on any board. So it was like, I was kind of struggling on it. But then this, I loved it. I was just like whipping turns and just, trying stuff that I can't do. And
I think because we always talk, me and my grovelers, but the benefit of having a smaller board, like it just fits in waves differently, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like, like if it's 2 foot weak, or it might get a bit bowly, like a shorter board, you're not like kind of stacking it if it's getting too dumpy. Like you just stay in the sweet spot, you can have more fun on it. Like, so it's definitely worth having these smaller boards for those.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't ever, I'm not like telling people what to do, but I wouldn't personally like depend on it. I like the fact that I've got this little team backup. But my friend and business partner, Mo, you know, he's a really good surfer, very powerful surfer, grew up in Morocco.
Good waves.
Good, just grew up. You can see it. He's like got that DNA where he just doesn't fall off, and all his turns have got power. Man, and he's a shortboard fiend.
Oh.
Like he's like, how can I make a shortboard better? How can I make a shortboard better? How can I? And I'm like, one day he's having a frustrating surf.
Do you know how many shortboards he's got?
Fuck no, a lot,
a
lot of boards, and he's having a bit of a frustrating surf. I'm like, have a go on the Pro, right? And he's like, first wave, he's like shouting at the end, woo, oh my god, like what the hell is this board? Every wave he got after that session, he just buzzing. He's like, oh my god, I can't believe this board, all the way at the beach, talking about it. And then he's like, knows that I've made these, didn't bat an eyelid at them before.
Is this when he stole your board?
Yeah. And I'd made myself a PU and an EPS, and I'm riding the EPS with extra large sides and a large middle, and I absolutely love that setup, by the way, for the shorter board. Anyway, so he gets in after that one, and he's like, suddenly starts looking at the new board, and he's like, "Whoa, what do you think this would go like? Do you think it would be a bit more like dynamic?"
Food envy. You've literally just got your dinner on the table, and he's there, just kind of like eyeing it.
Yeah. Then he went in and made a point of surfing that board straight away, and he phoned me. He's like, "Dude, I don't know what the hell you've done with this board. It flies. I'm doing this. I'm doing that," and like just frothing, because he gets so frothy on surfing, and he was just nothing but positive vibes. And now basically surfs it all the time in Cornwall. If it's pumping, I think he'll still get on a shortboard.
Yeah.
But his friends have ordered them because of him surfing them, and I know again that, like, it's not going to resonate massively with people listening to this, but I know if Mo is not surfing a shortboard, I've done something that is relatable to outside of myself. So if you think of these, trying to make it for someone, realizing it's kind of for me, but now making something for me and realizing it's for someone, it's such a cool like thing for me. It's like, yes, come on. Now I reckon I can give this to really good surfers. And in any sort of wave that you're going to struggle to maintain flow through sections that might not be there, this thing's going to pick that up.
And I think in that last line, you kind of hit the nail on the head, is that for so long, like this feels like a range that's been born of your level, which actually is probably very much the everyman level. Like it's probably one of the most relatable levels for the majority of surfers. But it's for your level, and for waves in the UK. Like I know that if you're going to go somewhere where you've got constant power, this, that, and the other, you can afford to go smaller and, you know, be really more ambitious with your board. But in the UK, you get such a variety of slot or changing beach breaks and this, that, and the other, that and these boards completely evolved specifically for that. And there's not many boards, I feel like, available in the UK that are so dedicated, so born of the function without any regard for what it should look like or this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this range incredibly special. And that's where you see guys that surf all over the world. This time when they come and they surf these boards in the UK, they're like, this makes so much sense. Like it's easy. Like you said, you always call it the cheat code range in that respect.
It's funny because it has got me excited to be, you know, when I was saying earlier, like, oh, I feel like I'm sort of Luke Hart shaper. Well, like, I used to try and be the shaper for everything. And now, like, the thing that really excites me is the shaper for UK. Like, that excites me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very confident in my boards. Like, I'm hugely confident in my boards with other shapers' boards. Like, when I see people on another board and it's not designed here, I have a feeling that I could make them have a better surf. And that's a really, really nice feeling. Whereas if you go to Snapper and, you know, you say, do you want to board off me? I'll do my best. But arguably, Jason Stevens is going to do a better board.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm okay with that. And I'll still push and I still understand why his boards are good there, which has been key for my shaping, you know. But the where I'm, you know, where I really come into my own is the UK waves. You know, I've studied the waves. I've studied the speed of them, the trajectories of them, why some breaks different. You know, I've really, really like looked into this. So it's being able to apply that into the boards is what that's what I'm really, really enjoying about it all. And it's like, it's okay, I can do it. It doesn't have to be like this secondary place where it's like not really surfing. It is. We've got sick waves. We've got really good surfers. We have an amazing array. Like, we can go over to Ireland, get whipped in if we want. I don't, but you know,
or Norway or Iceland, like all Northern Europe got similar.
We've got some decent waves, is my point. We've also got very consistent waves. They might not be that decent, but why do you think we've got world-class longboarders that come from here? Because they're consistent and they're rolly wet. They're fun. So getting boards to make the most out of them. Yeah, see it in the BP range. Yes, for the everyman like myself, but then also doing that for a 12-year-old coming up in the ranks, doing that for a pro surfer, doing that for an older surfer who used to shred, doing it for someone who's trying to build their confidence. All of these different kind of surfers that are out there, doing it with that UK wave mindset has helped a lot, and I really, really enjoy it.
So I mean, that's I guess like the BP range as it is. And just to conclude, like, it feels like the BP range, like you said, the BP Mini 2020. So it's kind of like at the beginning of that journey. Do you have any idea of where, like, I guess you're still getting used to the short stack, but like, are there things in the short stack that you think you might start exploring in the other boards?
I'll tell you what I've done. I don't know where this will go. I know it will carry on because, you know, just putting little tail shapes on them and like changing it from an EPS, because I ride all EPS, to
PU or like
and build it as a step up BP Mini and things like that. There's all these like intricacies and little weaves
nuances you can apply.
But what I have started doing is putting the bottom shapes on different boards, some fishes and stuff. And I'm not going to be calling it the BP fish or whatever. It's more like I've taken a board from another like range that I've been working on, like the Chile range that we've done some work together on. And like thrashed some ideas about, and I've put the bottom shape of the short stack and like mixed it up.
Chile,
like, how can I move it up the board? What will that do? You know, so you can start seeing, like me, the shaper, really, really coming in on those design points in other boards. You can't help it. You can't help it. You feel something's good, like you're gonna want to do it, aren't you?
So you would have thought when you started with the BP Mini that the froth would have come back, and now you're seeing the influence of that board like manifest itself, not just in the BP range, but actually filtering across the whole range. And becoming the start of like, you know, the next decade of kind of like developing boards in the UK as well as abroad for all types of surfers.
It's really made me feel like, whereas before I might have felt like surfing was, you know, like a chocolate bar, really nice treat, and it's kind of like once you get to the end, you think it's gone. Like now, it's like with these, I'm like really thinking, it's surfing's like a sweet shop, like an endless sweet Aladdin's cave. Like, and I'm in that kind of
as long as there's a ripple.
mindset. Yeah, I'm going to do something. Yeah, and like so that's what the BP range has done for me. So buzzing, and like you said earlier, really excited about the demo range rather than having like show boards in our factory that we can never keep up with because we can't keep up with the stock levels because of building them for shops and stuff. Yeah. We're going to have a really extensive demo range. These are going to be on there, and you don't have to look at them and cast any aspersions or you know, you can just come and try.
Blindfolded.
Yeah, you can just have a little go and
come and try them out. And I think that's it. Proof's in the pudding, right? Like, kind of, until you've given it a go, which you don't have to buy one to give it a go, just give us a call, DM us, like, and enjoy.
Right, same time next time.
Always, mate. Peace.
Old speckled hen, get on.
Boom.
Bosh.